Once again, we have something that really should not come as a shock, to be honest, to anyone. We have been constantly on this since March, saying, hey, we cannot both deal with Brexit and COVID at the same time. In fact, it has been shown numerous times that because we are so involved with Brexit at the moment and trying to get, quote, Brexit done, that this has actually affected our response to COVID. So not only has Brexit helped sucker the UK into a really bad recession compared to anyone else in Europe being struck as hard with the COVID, everyone else got about 10, maybe about 12 points hit to their GDP. The UK took a 20% hit. Why on earth were we hit so bad? Well, the answer simply is Brexit. And now we have a think tank that has come along and said exactly what we've been saying on this channel for quite some time. And that is, the UK will struggle to deal with Brexit alongside COVID, says think tank. So devolved administrations, local authorities and businesses risk being overwhelmed by Brexit, the implementation on the 1st of January, unable to deal with it alongside the urgent demands of the second wave of COVID-19, an influential think tank has said. Local councils, trading standards officers and port health authorities are all part of the Brexit operation, but may find themselves stretched because of the resurgence of the virus, the Institute for Governance has said. This is a quote from them. The pandemic will make these plans harder. For example, critical staff may fall ill or need to isolate, and resources may very well be redirected to the pandemic response. And although central government has managed to shift resources back to Brexit, preparations after they were redeployed to help with the pandemic earlier this year, there is less capacity among the devolved governments and local authorities to handle both, says the report titled Brexit, How Ready is the UK? Not ready at all. So while the UK faces a challenging winter, cooperations with local administrations will become more critical than ever, not least to understand how the double shock of COVID and Brexit is playing out in key areas including ports, airports and key industries that rely on cross-border supply chains or workforces. The report comes a day after the National Institute for Economic and Social Research warned that Brexit on top of COVID-19 is likely to broaden the shock of growth and employment in the first quarter of 2021, weakening the UK's recovery compared with other countries and reducing productivity in the long run. Another of the IFG's reports commented that the government on getting most of the required legislation, including the new immigration and agricultural bills, through by the end of the year. But the question remains. With less than 60 days to go, the government has yet to announce how the UK Prosperity Fund will work, how it will replace EU funding for whether for science or even economic development, says the report. Which we've gone through before, they ain't going to replace it. This new town fund ain't going to go anywhere near the size and the breadth that the EU Business Development Fund did. It ain't going to fund half the stuff that some of these towns needs. And if you are living in a Labour town, well, you can almost pretty much forget getting any money whatsoever. It also predicts that Northern Ireland Protocol cannot be implemented in full in time with the IT systems and the infrastructure for the new border control posts that are not ready for the 1st of January. This will present the government with a challenge to apply the letter of the withdrawal agreement and risk lorry queues in ports such as Liverpool, or facilitate the flow of goods without the new regulatory and customs checks in place, and risk ending up in the European Court of Justice. While the trust between the EU and the UK has been badly damaged over Boris Johnson's threat to disapply some of the withdrawal agreement, the IFG believes the offending clauses in the internal market bill are dropped. The EU should be, quote, be ready for some flexibility on the Northern Ireland Protocol. On border readiness elsewhere in the country, the IGF says more work is needed to help businesses prepare for the new controls, which many do not realise apply whether there is a trade deal or not. The economic damage wrought by the coronavirus has robbed many of the bandwidth and cash to do so what is needed. It says that adding that as recently as late October, 1/3 of small businesses were still labouring under the illusion that the transition period would be extended beyond the 31st of December. We could hope, but it looks like not. There is no way that Boris is going to do this because he is far too scared of his backbench MPs rebelling against this and being defeated, even though it is pretty much obvious that these companies need this time. But again, it would be wonderful to know, for example, what the government is actually negotiating. Of course, we will not know, and of course we are, quote, in the tunnel period, and we appear to be getting what is known as a skinny deal, which is going to be really small areas, while other areas are just left completely out of the cold. So some areas may be part of this skinny deal, some certain industries, while other industries that export to Europe may just be left to trade on WTO terms, which is also going to be disastrous for them. So it also criticised the government's communication campaign as concentrating on the opportunities of Brexit. Again, what opportunities? Rather than making a call to action for businesses. And it warns, while Whitehall may have the resources to separate work streams on Brexit, Westminster should not be complacent. Even if the UK civil service has the necessary resources to do so, the devolved administrations, local authorities and businesses may well be overwhelmed, it says. Well, that comes as no shock. This is going to be... It's going to be an absolute mess. It really, really is. And like I say, we're apparently meant to be getting, we've heard from the minister in Northern Ireland just a couple of weeks ago, well, a week ago now, that we are going to get a deal with the next 2 weeks. We don't know what's going to be in this deal. I guarantee it's not going to be a good deal for us. But then that was always going to be the case unless we submitted to being in the European single market and being under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, which is how, the single market works so well. We've said this before. The big thing with, when you compare our Eurosceptics, that's British Eurosceptics, to European Eurosceptics, is that the British Eurosceptics hate the single market because they're free market fundamentalists. They could not understand why Margaret Thatcher, created, because she was one of the main architects of the single market. Britain was deregulating, so they could not understand why she was getting involved with this very highly regulated system. They couldn't understand it and have been pretty much against the idea since then. The European Eurosceptics, on the other hand, recognise how good the single market is and how good it is for their economies, but they can't accept further political integration. That tends to be where they are, and it's the British Eurosceptics that are now gone from that equation, which, for example, allowed recently the funding deal for the annual budget for the EU to be passed so quickly because no one for Britain was there to disagree with it. But, that's that. And we just continue to sink further and further into this absolute pit of madness. But there you go. So anyway, thank you for watching. Please do hit that like and share button. It does help out the channel. Of course, if you would like to support the channel in a different way, there are links down below to my Patreon page as well as a one-off donation link. So thank you very much to the people that do support my channel in that way. Your support is very, very much appreciated. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.